My fiancé said I was good enough to beat competitors, but not gentle enough to be a wife. Right after that, he kissed his assistant. I didn't cry. I just turned away and walked, right beside his biggest rival. We love knowing where our global family is tuning in from. Drop your location in the comments. And if this is your first time on the channel, please subscribe. Your support helps us tell more stories of consequence, awakening, and rebirth. Thank you for being here. It was the company's IPO celebration. I was late, my hand just touching the door handle, when I overheard the head of marketing joking about when Blake would finally marry me, now that the company was public. I froze. That question, I'd asked Blake so many times, but he always shook his head, saying the company was in a crucial growth phase and asked me to wait a little longer. I leaned in close to the door and listened. The room fell silent. Blake chuckled softly. Harper overthinks everything. She's too cold, always ready to do whatever it takes to reach her goals. His words sliced straight into me. I had defended the company, protected him from mistakes. I'd been the one negotiating with difficult clients, using sharp strategies to win contracts. And this is what I got in return. Blake continued. For years, yes, I relied on her to take down competitors. But to make her my wife? She's not the right fit. My whole body went numb. Not the right fit. He saw me as a tool, a convenient weapon in the business world, but not a woman to love. Blake added, For marriage, it's better to find someone more gentle. I heard him laugh again, looking at his assistant, Piper Hayes, with her shiny blonde hair, sweet smile, always by Blake's side in recent meetings. The room erupted in laughter when someone toasted to the new couple, Blake and Piper. Piper giggled and bowed playfully. With her age and reputation, I guess, finding a new boyfriend might be tough. My hand clenched the door handle. Blake shrugged, casually said my dating life had nothing to do with him, shattering any last illusions I might have had. In that moment, standing outside the door, everything suddenly felt meaningless. My anger melted into a cold, quiet calm. I let go of the handle. I was just stepping out of the main hall when, out of nowhere, a sleek black Tesla Model S sped toward me and stopped cleanly right in front. The driver's window rolled down slowly, revealing a handsome face, Leo Vance, the fiercest business rival I had, both to me and Blake Foster. He gave me a half smile, mocking and smug, instantly putting me on guard. Leaning back in the driver's seat, one arm resting casually on the steering wheel, he said, Harper Quinn, standing out here all alone on the night your company goes public? My face dropped, anger bubbling up fast. Go find someone else to mess with. I'm not your entertainment, Leo let out a soft laugh. So, what do you think about joining my company? My eyes widened. I froze for a second, speechless. Join him? The man I'd always seen as my biggest rival? He kept going, his voice smooth with just enough flattery. A cold, sharp woman like you fits perfectly with a bad guy like me. We were made to be on the same side, you know? I immediately took a step back, forcing myself to stay rational and calm. Leo, that's enough. I don't have time for your games. He shook his head, his eyes locked on mine. Harper, I can help you take back everything that was stolen from you, and I need someone like you, ruthless enough, to help me scale my company. If we lose, well, it's not like you've got anything left to lose right now, do you? I thought quickly. He was stronger than Blake. His company was growing fast. Teaming up for revenge? That idea stirred something inside me. Maybe he could sense the way my body was starting to relax, because he casually slipped off his coat and placed it over my shoulders. The warmth of the coat, still carrying his body heat, made me feel a little more at ease. Come on, get in. I'll take you home. His voice had dropped lower now, no longer playful. He looked at me with a more sincere expression, reminding me, tomorrow would be a long day. His words carried layers of meaning, but I understood instantly. Tomorrow would be the fight. Against Blake, against the company, maybe even against myself. I looked straight at the man who used to be my biggest rival and said nothing for a long time. But the cold had started to seep into my skin, and exhaustion was catching up fast. At last, I slowly opened the passenger door and got into the car, the door closing with a soft click. When I sat down, he smiled gently, as if telling me I could take my time before answering. I knew he had his own agenda, but I didn't have the energy to figure it out. I fell asleep to the scent of cedarwood. The first time I met Blake was at the National Startup Strategy Competition at the University Auditorium, in the middle of applause from hundreds of students. Blake and I were rivals, both drawing the same brutal topic. A tech startup on the brink of bankruptcy, torn by internal conflict and a media crisis. As CEO, what would you do to save the company? Blake presented first, wearing a confident smile that made the judges nod in approval over and over. When it was my turn, I gave a completely opposite view. The audience started whispering, the judges frowned. I could feel the tension in the room, but I didn't back down. I emphasized every point with force. In the end, when the judges announced the results, my solution won. Just barely, with 51% of the vote, full of controversy. The applause was uneven. Some cheered, others stayed silent. I stood there, breathing out in relief, but still guarded. Blake, in second place, walked up to me with a smile. He held out his hand, voice warm and low. "Congratulations, Harper." His hand wrapped around mine, warm but calculated. I looked up at him, his tousled brown hair under the stage lights, trying to keep my voice steady even as doubt crept in. "Thank you. Your solution was more polished, safer. Was that genuine praise, or just a way in?" "But you were the winner," he replied, not hiding the fire in his eyes. His blue eyes sparkled like they were ready to swallow me whole. He leaned in closer. "I have to admit, I'm drawn to you." The look on his face was unmistakable. Desire, obsession, lips curled in that seductive smile. I raised an eyebrow, stepped back half a pace to keep my distance, voice laced with sarcasm. "Drawn to me?" "Blake, look carefully. I'm the kind of person who'll stop at nothing to get what I want." His eyes lit up, burning with determination. He grabbed my shoulders with both hands, holding tight. "That's exactly what makes you irresistible." He looked straight into my eyes, his face brimming with excitement. Then he begged me to stay, to build something with him. That look in his eyes, it shook me. Maybe he meant it. Maybe my sharpness could be a strength, not a threat, if I stood beside him. But I shook my head. "Wait till you calm down, Blake. You'll see that this sharpness annoys you, that this ruthlessness is too much." Before I could even finish, he cut me off, dead certain. "That day will never come. Blake, the man I am, loves everything about you, Harper. Believe me." And yet, despite that moving promise, every part of my brain was screaming to run. I instinctively stepped back, the dream scene shattered, stage lights fading, applause turning into the sound of wind howling outside the car. I woke up with a start. Leo's jacket now draped over me. He leaned in, kissed my forehead gently, then sighed. "Sleep well, Harper? Still haunted by the past?" The look on his face made everything inside me twist, caught between what used to be and what's now, unsure if this was help or just another trap. As soon as I got into the apartment, I collapsed onto the sofa. Was Leo an enemy or an ally? My mind was spinning with images from the party and the dream. Right then, the phone screen lit up on the coffee table. A stream of messages from my best friend, Tessa Vale. "What the fuck? You broke up with Blake? Piper is a snake." Then she sent me a video. My thoughts were a mess. What video? Still, my finger tapped it. Footage secretly recorded at some luxury private club. The stars of the video? Blake and his gang of party boys. Piper was there too, clinging close to him. The timestamp on the video showed it was from 6 months ago, my birthday, the very night he told me he had an important client he absolutely couldn't get away from. In the video, Blake was clearly drunk. He mocked me for being too intense, said I always tried to dominate him, and his friends burst into laughter, chiming in that women should just stay home. Blake didn't deny it. He even wrapped an arm around Piper. Piper's better anyway. Sweet, understanding, easy to like. Piper looked embarrassed, about to say something, when a voice rang out, sharp, sarcastic, and painfully familiar. Blake? If it weren't for Harper, you wouldn't even be sitting here. So is it that she's too good? Or you're just too useless to deserve her? The second that voice finished, the video cut off. I froze. That voice, I recognized it instantly. It was Leo. No wonder that day, on my birthday, he'd randomly sent a text. Careful. You might lose your boyfriend, which made me frown in confusion. I was about to call him when Blake arrived late, flowers in hand, smile on his face. And somehow, I forgot everything. Now, it all fit together, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place, sending chills down my spine. Tessa messaged again. Leo defended you. He's like, low-key chasing you, always behind you, planned to study abroad wherever you went, but you stayed for Blake. So he went alone. I just sat there, stunned. Leo had quietly done all that for me? Was this real affection, or just the long game of a rivalry that never ended? I turned off my phone and lay flat on the sofa. The next morning, I walked into the company and headed straight for the conference room. Blake sat firmly in the chairman's seat. Next to him was Piper, with that innocent, wide-eyed face. The shareholders were seated on either side of the table, eyes watching me carefully. I approached the second seat, about to sit down, when Blake spoke up coolly. Harper's here. Take a seat. We've got some strategic adjustments to announce today. He casually pointed to an empty chair at the far end, right by the door. I stayed right where I was. Trying to push me out? My lips curled slightly, eyes locked on Blake. Strategic adjustments. I'm the co-founder of this company, and I'm the last to hear about it. Blake, if you're trying to push me aside, the least you could do is follow proper procedure. The head of marketing immediately jumped up, all eager and full of loyalty toward Blake. Harper! That's not what this is. Your approach has offended too many people. It's time for stability. I took a step forward. 3 years ago, when I saved this company from bankruptcy, you didn't seem to have a problem with my approach. Blake furrowed his brow slightly, then finally spoke. The company needs a softer touch. Piper's doing well in that area. He gently patted the back of Piper's hand. I crossed my arms in front of my chest. Let me ask one more time. What exactly are you all trying to say? My voice rose steadily, my finger pointing straight at Blake's face. Blake, it's been 10 years and you're still pulling the same tricks. Back in college, you said we had to win that project, so I stayed up for nights writing the proposal for you. And what happened? You took my plan, won first place, and then blamed me for taking the initiative. And now? You're pulling the same stunt, trying to edge me out of the company? What I said made Blake freeze. His face darkened, his eyes flickering with both anger and panic. He shot up, his voice rising. Harper, are you trying to deceive everyone here? His eyes darted around the shareholders, searching for someone to back him up. Hale, the head of marketing, stood abruptly, trying to steer the conversation away. Blake's doing this for the good of the company. And you? You're a dictator. Who knows what you've been hiding? What if it's harming the company? He pointed straight at me, desperate to shift the heat off Blake. Just then, a soft knock at the conference room door made every head turn. Lila Voss, the assistant who had been with me for 5 years, walked in carrying a tray of coffee, somehow cutting through the suffocating air in the room. When I saw her, my face relaxed slightly, shoulders easing a bit. At least there was still someone in this company I could trust. But then, Lila suddenly pulled out a thick stack of reports from under the coffee tray. Yesterday, Harper asked me out of nowhere to prepare a report to send to Vance Global, saying she wanted to withdraw company funds. The room fell dead silent, broken only by the soft rustle of paper as she flipped a page. I stared at her in horror. How could this be? She was the one I trusted most. She didn't look at me, but her eyes screamed reckless resolve. She went on. Not only that, she also altered key data, deliberately slowed down the company's research progress. She even told me to back up all the files of our major projects. Her words exploded like a bomb, sending a chill through my whole body. Betrayal. A trap. But why? From her. Blake feigned hurt, his voice low and fake gentle. Harper, with evidence this clear, what more is there to say? For old time's sake, if you admit what you did, cooperate with the investigation, and return the funds, I'll try my best to ask the board for leniency. His eyes were full of false sympathy, lips curled into a smug little smile. Piper immediately jumped in. Blake, you're being way too soft. What she did basically sinks the whole company. She needs to be punished. Hard. She looked at me with that fake moral gaze, like she was some guardian of justice, her lips forming a smug little smirk. The room erupted, people shouting, demanding an investigation, calling for my immediate suspension. My body was trembling from rage and disbelief. Was this the end? Was I going to be crushed by the very people I saved? Suddenly, the conference room doors burst open with force, and all the yelling stopped. Every stunned gaze turned toward the door. He stood there, just inside the threshold, hands in his pockets. From what I heard outside, I thought someone was staging a full-blown circus in here. Blake froze in his chair. He had arrived. Was he here to save me, or to finish me off once and for all? Leo Vance? This is an internal meeting. What the hell are you doing here? Blake shot up from the chairman's seat, face pale. Leo didn't bother replying. He looked straight at Lila. She stood frozen, eyes lowered, avoiding his gaze. Leo stopped in the middle of the room. Forged reports. Bribed employees? That's old news. His words cracked like a whip, making Lila stumble back, face drained of color. The assistant behind Leo, a young man in a black suit, immediately stepped forward, holding a thick file, flipping it open. Evidence of falsification, including the $500,000 in labor fees transferred between Ms. Hayes and Ms. Voss. All confirmed. Piper flinched, her eyes wide in panic, while Lila shook violently, the folder slipping from her hands and hitting the floor with a thud, papers scattering everywhere. The assistant continued, voice cold. We also have a recorded conversation between the two. It can be sent straight to the police and court any time. The entire room fell silent. Leo didn't even glance at the pathetic mess. Just a bunch of fools. He scanned the room with pure disdain. Everyone knows, without Harper, this company would have gone bankrupt a long time ago. His words turned Blake's face beet red. Piper bit her lip, and the shareholders began whispering, their expressions a mix of shame and regret. The truth was finally out. But why did it have to come from him? He didn't care what Blake thought. He looked only at me. I now formally invite Ms. Harper Quinn to join Vance Global as our Group Chief Strategy Officer. Your starting salary will be 3 times what you're making here. I'll also transfer 1.5% of Vance Global shares under my personal name to you. The conference room was dead quiet, everyone stunned by the absurd boldness of this rival's hiring move. Leo tilted his head slightly, extended his hand, not just offering, but commanding, with a tone that didn't allow refusal. Harper, haven't you had enough of this dump? This broken company doesn't deserve you. Come with me. I smiled with full confidence, no hesitation, and stepped forward. Deal sealed, CEO Leo. I placed my hand in his. The Tesla glided smoothly toward my apartment. I leaned my head against the seat, eyes staring out the window, but my mind kept replaying what had just happened in that conference room. Lila's betrayal, Blake's fake expression, and the sharp look in Leo's eyes when he walked in. Leo sat beside me, quietly offering comfort. Cry if you need to. I closed my eyes, voice hoarse with exhaustion. Cry over someone useless? I'm not that stupid, but his unexpected gentleness made me want to let go. Just a little. He didn't say anything else, just let out a soft laugh. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It felt like an unspoken understanding. I leaned back into the seat, eyes still shut, trying to shake off the exhaustion. But when I jolted awake, the car had already stopped. Leo sat beside me, silent, watching me closely. My hand instinctively gripped the edge of the coat tighter, heart skipping a beat. I tried to sound composed. We're here. Why didn't you wake me? He chuckled gently. Wanted to look at you a little longer. I handed him back the coat, unbuckling my seatbelt. Don't joke. Just before opening the car door, I suddenly turned back and looked straight into Leo's eyes. Thank you for today. I stepped out of the car, and Leo suddenly called out. I froze, didn't turn around, just waited. He continued. Where I come from, your ruthlessness is your strength. The door shut. The car drove off into the darkness, leaving me standing there. I stood in front of my apartment, the night breeze slightly chilly, but I didn't rush to go in. My heart beat steady in my chest. Not from panic, but from a kind of feeling I hadn't felt in a long time. A fire inside me had been lit, fierce, and something else, something soft and hard to name. I think that question Leo once asked, I might finally have the answer. Just then, my phone buzzed. Blake's familiar number lit up the screen. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up to hear what he had to say. His voice came through, fake concerned. Quinn, have you made enough of a scene yet? I know today was embarrassing for you, but your reaction was way too dramatic. I made a scene? I replied coldly. Blake immediately snapped. Don't you realize what kind of person Leo Vance is? He's just using you to take me down. Then he softened his tone, trying to convince me. Besides, there's nothing between me and Hayes. We're just colleagues. You don't need to get worked up over her. That was the last straw. I couldn't take his lies anymore. I said with biting sarcasm, Blake, you kissed her, and now you want to drag me into whatever sick game the two of you are playing? There was a pause on the other end. Then he suddenly laughed. So you're jealous? Don't be mad. You know deep down, the person who matters most to me has always been you. I felt sick to my stomach. He still thought he had control over me? He kept pushing. Honestly, I've always wanted you to step back, take a break from work, stay home, and support me. If you just cut ties with Leo Vance, we could finally get married. If before I thought Blake was just a liar and a cheat, now I realized he was delusional, stuck in some backwards fantasy from another era. Saying one more word to him only made me feel ashamed I had ever loved someone like that. I ended the call and blocked his number without a second thought. In the days that followed, I quickly finalized my resignation and transferred my shares. I officially joined Vance Global as Chief Strategy Officer. Leo kept his word. He gave me near total authority and access to resources. At our first meeting, he sat at the head of the table, voice low and steady. Harper, you have full decision-making power. His eyes full of trust as he slid the folder toward me. Our coordination was uncanny. He anticipated every strategic move I made and prepared all the resources I'd need to strike. Together, we zeroed in on Foster Dynamics, my former company, and launched a surgical, ruthless takedown. In just 3 months, the once shining firm that proudly went public was now nothing more than a deflated balloon, collapsing. Their stock plummeted. Headlines screamed, Empire crumbles. Foster Dynamics implodes from within. Inside the boardroom, chaos erupted. Betrayals, divisions, meetings filled with shouting and finger-pointing. Blake's role as CEO spiraled into full-blown crisis. This was the real revenge. Blake lost everything he had stolen from me. That afternoon, I was sitting in Leo's spacious, luxurious office, watching the stock price of Foster Dynamics drop. Leo leaned back in his chair, teasing me. Director Harper, how does it feel to use such ruthless tactics? I should be thanking CEO Vance for the lesson. When dealing with garbage, you have to use the right methods. My eyes met his. My ruthlessness was encouraged here, something Blake had never done. Leo, not one to back down, immediately pulled me closer. Then, how does Director Harper plan on thanking me? I shivered slightly, then let myself settle onto his lap, raising an eyebrow. What kind of thank you do you want? My voice full of challenge, heart racing, while his fingers deliberately traced along my back, teasing. Truth is, whatever was between me and Leo Vance had long gone past early-stage curiosity. From those late-night meetings, under dim office lights, the accidental brushes of hands, to those unexpected kisses in the elevator. He respected my competence, thrived on the thrill of fighting battles alongside me, and made no attempt to hide how drawn he was to me. And me? As I climbed each rung of the ladder at Vance Global, I found more of who he really was. Strong, bold, and honest enough to admit it. We walked a fine line between collaboration and flirtation, a quiet understanding that didn't need much explanation. The office door creaked open. His assistant stepped in, voice a little awkward. CEO Vance, Ms. Quinn, Mr. Blake is downstairs, asking to see you. She bowed slightly, eyes avoiding ours, like she knew she'd just interrupted something private. Leo frowned, clearly annoyed at being cut off, fingers tapping the desk lightly. It's your call. I didn't even bother looking up from my computer screen. One meeting. Let's get it over with. It had only been 3 months, but Blake had changed so much. His gray suit no longer fit, like he had lost weight. The hair that used to be neatly styled, now streaked with silver. His whole body showing clear signs of decline. When he saw me sitting there, it was like he'd spotted a ray of hope. Harper! I stepped back, avoiding the hand he reached out. Leo remained calmly in his seat, lazy and unbothered, clearly unwilling to excuse himself. Blake completely ignored Leo's presence, eyes fixed on me with a mess of emotion. What do you want to say to me? Harper, I was wrong. It was all Piper. She deceived me. Let's start over. I cut through his remorse coldly, my voice steady. Blake, when you kissed Piper in front of everyone, when you let her and your assistant set me up and try to destroy me, when you dismissed all the results of my hard work just to drag me down into the dirt, that's when it ended for us. Blake froze, his body trembling. Leo remained in his chair, lips curled in quiet satisfaction at my words. Blake shook his head. No, it's not like that. I loved you too much. I felt insecure, scared you'd outgrow me, scared you'd leave me. I tilted my head slightly, looking at his pitiful face. Your way of loving is truly unique. I let out a faint laugh, took a deep breath, and spoke clearly. You say you loved me? Number. You just wanted someone who would do everything for you, take the fall for your mistakes, and when you drained every bit of value out of her, she'd go back to being your nanny, your cook, your maid. That's not love. I didn't spare him another glance. I turned to the assistant and said, Please show him out. My tone was calm, like I was simply asking a stranger to leave my office. Leo chuckled softly, got up, walked to my side, and without hesitation wrapped an arm around my waist. A gesture so intimate, it felt like a public claim. Blake's face, already pale, turned ghost white. He stared at Leo's hand gripping my waist, then looked at my cold, resolute face, completely stripped of anything resembling nostalgia. At last, he understood. There would be no going back. He stumbled out like a ghost, dragging himself out of the office. Leo gave my waist a gentle squeeze, rested his head lightly on my shoulder, his low, raspy voice teasing. Feeling better now, my fiancé? He deliberately stretched out the word fiancé, like he was testing me, eyes dark and deep, glinting with an unstoppable possessiveness. I tilted my head to look at him, didn't deny the title, just raised my hand and gently smoothed a perfectly unwrinkled fold on his suit jacket. Our war is only just beginning. In the days that followed, the plan Leo and I had crafted unfolded with ruthless precision, like a sharpened blade slicing through every illusion Foster Dynamics had left. In less than 3 months, Vance Global officially announced the complete acquisition of my former company, an empire that once lit up the stock exchange, now reduced to ash. Blake, the once proud founder, the largest shareholder with his smug smile, was voted out of the board in a short, cold meeting. The sound of a pen signing the transfer papers echoed, severing the final thread of his dream to build a business empire. Foster Dynamics was officially bankrupt. In a whirlwind of rage and desperation, Blake flailed like a cornered animal, screaming and blaming everyone, from the shareholders to the staff, like the world owed him an explanation. But the first targets of his wrath were none other than Piper Hayes and Lila Voss, the two allies who once stood loyally by his side, now reduced to scapegoats for his collapse. Lila, the assistant I had once trusted completely, was dragged into questioning, eyes wide with panic, facing irrefutable evidence. A $500,000 transfer from Piper's account, clear proof of their conspiracy to forge documents and sabotage me. Leo, with icy resolve and zero hesitation, sent her straight to court, a sentence for her betrayal. As for Piper, karma came crashing down like a storm. In a desperate attempt to salvage his own name, Blake not only fired her, but personally exposed her lies to the press. The prestigious degree Piper once flaunted turned out to be fake, a forged ticket into Foster Dynamics, enabled by sweet talk and Blake's negligence. News spread like wildfire, headlines erupting, the faker unmasked. Piper Hayes crumbles in disgrace. Images of her, once proud with golden hair, now disheveled, head bowed before a wall of cameras, became the very symbol of downfall. Companies everywhere blacklisted her name, career doors slammed shut, no way out. In a single moment, the world watched Piper, once proudly standing beside Blake, now a hollow shell, swallowed by the very scheme she built. At Vance Global's office, I stood by the window, looking out at the city glittering with lights. Leo walked over, holding a glass of red wine, his eyes shimmering with quiet satisfaction. "Look, Harper," he said, voice low and full of meaning, "your enemies are now nothing but dust." I turned to him, lips curling into a cold smile. "Not just dust, Leo. They're a lesson to anyone who ever dares underestimate me." He raised his glass, clinked it lightly against mine, the sound of glass ringing like a declaration. "And we," he whispered, "are just getting started." 6 months later, Leo and I were on our honeymoon in a peaceful little town in Europe. Last month, we had a small, elegant wedding. No spectacle, no noisy guests, no elaborate rituals. Just our closest loved ones, genuine smiles, and soft, heartfelt blessings. The ceremony took place in an old garden, where vines curled around a wooden archway, blooming with pale purple flowers that swayed in the breeze. Sunlight filtered through oak leaves, scattering golden flecks over the lush green grass, where Leo and I stood facing each other, exchanging our vows. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal gray suit, the hem swaying gently in the wind, his eyes filled with a tenderness I had never seen before, deep and serious, as if the whole world had disappeared and only I remained. I wore a simple white silk dress, gently hugging my figure, the train flowing like ocean waves, and as I walked toward him, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers picked from that very garden, I could feel my heartbeat matching his breath. When Leo slid the ring onto my finger, his hand trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from a deep, genuine emotion, as if that ring wasn't just a promise, but his entire heart being placed in mine. I smiled in return, filled with a peace and certainty I had never known before. A feeling like every storm of the past had finally cleared, making way for the warm light of the present. Right now, we're walking together down the art street of a small town. I stop in front of a gallery, my eyes drawn to a painting of a university campus. Soft sunlight pours through the arching rooftops, spilling across the bookshelves inside a quiet library. A faint, almost forgotten sense of longing brushes against my heart. Something once important, now nearly erased by time. What's wrong? Leo immediately senses the shift in me. He follows my gaze, then instantly understands. He gently wraps an arm around my shoulders, his voice warm and calm. Regretting the study abroad chance you gave up back then? For that jerk? He doesn't say Blake's name, as if it's not even worth mentioning. I nod slightly, honest. Yeah, a little. It was once a really important part of my plan. Leo chuckles, tilts his head, and plants a soft kiss on my forehead. His voice is full of certainty and quiet encouragement. It's not too late now. He takes my hand, our fingers intertwining tightly. The warmth of his palm spreads into me, steady, grounding, and oddly reassuring. The sea breeze flutters through my hair, the sun soaking gently into my shoulders. I glance at the man beside me, reckless, mischievous, but somehow he gives all of that softness to me, speaking half in jest, half like a vow. And just like that, every lingering cloud inside me disappears without a trace. I squeeze his hand, smiling, genuine and unguarded. Yeah, why not? Starting over with you, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Leo smiles and takes another step forward, still holding my hand. Behind us is a sunlit street and an art gallery full of inspiration. Ahead of us is a new chapter in our lives, a completely fresh journey, full of possibilities. As for Blake, Piper Hayes, Lila Voss, those people were nothing more than a ridiculous, worn-out play, petty and meaningless. We left them behind long ago, like specks of dust in some old memory, no longer worth anything. I walk forward, hand in hand with Leo, sea breeze brushing through my hair, sunlight gleaming on our wedding rings, and in my heart, I feel freedom, fully embracing the present and facing the future. The new journey is only just beginning, and this time, I'm living for myself, because the person I love most is walking right beside me, and with him there, the path ahead unfolds on its own, like a door opening toward a horizon free of shadows. True freedom is when we learn to let go of the chains of the past, so the door to the future can open, vast and full of light, where love doesn't bind, but lifts, doesn't possess, but walks with us, forever.